Hello and welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani. I'm joined by my main man, Lucas Navarrete, here by my side at the Civitas Metropolitano after Real Madrid suffered a brutal 3-1 loss to Atletico Madrid. We just finished the press conference. Calo Ancelotti's anyway. Diego Simeone is speaking now. We want no part of it. We just want to record a post-game podcast. And I was talking to you, Lucas, during the game, was like, maybe we can do this in 20 minutes before they kick us out. But I don't know how to actually get all of our talking points in within 20 minutes. So anyways, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing fine. It was a good experience at the Metropolitano. My first time here. Great atmosphere. Obviously, game not the best of outcomes by any means. But yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm so happy to see you after all this time.
You didn't want some lukewarm watered down coffee?
No, not for me.
Okay.
Not at this hour anyway.
Yeah, this is a bad idea actually. But okay, so why don't we start from the top? You and I both saw the starting lineup. We had some complaints about it before the game. I have a rule where I didn't always have this rule, but I have a rule in the past year or so where even if I don't like the lineup, I reserve judgment. I don't comment on it because I may be wrong. You know, maybe this will work today. Maybe there's a different tactical ingenuity behind this lineup that I'm not too high on. I've been kind of out on Kroos and Modric together for a while. I do feel like with today, there was a difference in that this season, if Kroos and Modric are together, Bellingham's on the field with them as well. So that provides a different dynamic at least. Ancelotti said after the game that the reason why he didn't start Joselu was because he wanted an extra midfield for control. He also said after the game, the reason for Tchouaméni not starting was for rest, which I have to criticize.
Put some salt on that.
I have to criticize that one because why rest in a derby? And why have that different rules for different players who have also played every second of this season? And Tchouaméni hasn't been one of those players, by the way. So but let's just start with the starting lineup anyway, is my point. What did you see was the issue?
Ooh. If I have to say one thing, the one thing that shocks me the most is that I didn't see a clear and obvious role for Modric there on the field as an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
He obviously played in that position earlier in his career. But I honestly don't know that what he was doing on the field. That was my main issue, I think. Obviously, Bellingham and Rodrygo, having them both leading the offense was going to take you so far. Like, you definitely missed some attacking presence. We were discussing it during the first half that, Real Madrid, like Atletico center backs, were way too comfortable. They had no one to mark. Basically, Modric was just like standing there because he had to. But yeah, that was my main issue, actually. Obviously, the lack of Tchouaméni in the lineup bothers me as well. Ancelotti's excuse, because I'll say is an excuse, bothers me even more. But yeah, those are the two things probably that first come to mind when discussing the starting lineup tonight.
Yeah, so there's always this battle of like, okay, well, is it the lineup or is it the tactical setup or is it the decision of individual players? And I think today it was all connected.
Right.
Because we can say, well, like, oh, well, if Real Madrid didn't make those defensive mistakes that they did, maybe they wouldn't have dug the hole that they're in. But you look back on how those defensive mistakes came, like the same problem from the Union Berlin, or not Union Berlin, was it South Real Sociedad?
I think,
versus the Kubo. The same problem of the
Right.
left side with Fran Garcia and Kroos, who is not tracking at all. Camavinga plays DM to start the game anyway. And he's, I think, had a good game overall. I don't think he was perfect. I think there were a couple moments he was a little bit careless on the ball. But largely speaking, his tackling was good and he tried to distribute. On both goals, there was some confusion between him and Alaba, although I think Alaba was mostly culpable, especially in the second Morata header. But they're all connected. And I think you probably need more than just Camavinga being the only midfield who's tracking into the box. He needs more. So my point is the lineup and the mistakes are connected. It's not just one or the other. And look, you could argue like, oh no, there was some good sequences here and there, but at that point,
Just late.
you're
in the
too late.
first
Like
half.
you've already dug the hole with your defensive mistakes. You're playing against a team that is arguably tactically, possibly historically speaking, no other team is worse to go down 2 goals than against Atletico Madrid at home, because they just know how to milk the shit out of it and defend like crazy and get under your skin. So the hole was dug way before.
Yeah, definitely. And Ancelotti is not doing the players any favors with his decisions and his lineups. Like, we can easily say that, for example, Fran Garcia wasn't especially great defensively in the first half, but obviously he's by himself because, as you mentioned, Kroos doesn't track back like at all. Kroos was frustrating to watch to me especially in the first half. I think Kroos was a bit frustrating. Obviously, scored in Real Madrid's only goal, so he deserves some credit in that regard. But from a defensive standpoint, as a central midfielder, which is the role he should play in this team, I feel like not the defensive midfielder role he kind of took on later in the second half. I thought that Kroos was a big hole in the team's defensive scheme. Like, Fran Garcia will receive pretty much no help on that left side. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's all connected. I think that the players' mistakes are probably coming because, Ancelotti is not doing them any kind of favor, and at the same time, maybe some players here and there are not actually establishing themselves in the 11 the way Ancelotti expected. So that kind of, forces Ancelotti to maybe make some decisions here and there, and obviously start and deploy the reputed Kroos and Modric in the lineup when he really shouldn't do that, I think.
Well, it was interesting because Mario Cortacana asked Ancelotti a very long-winded question in the press conference, and he was basically saying, like, all these talks about starting the game better and knowing how to start and in what things you've tried to implement and all this stuff. And Ancelotti gave like a 2-word response. It was like, my fault.
Basically. Yeah, I saw that.
And I just think the way the team was set up to kind of further hammer the point that like these defensive mistakes really cost us, especially early on. You look at the first 2 goals that Atletico scored in the first half. They're both similar in the sense that we allowed too much space for the cross to come in, and we also were not marking the actual people who were heading the ball, Morata and then Griezmann. Lino had a lot of space to get the crossing for the first goal. I think it was Fede Valverde marking him in that sequence. The second one, Lino cuts in easily and then plays the ball out wide to I forget who, and that cross comes into Griezmann, and again, confusion marking. I got to say, just to skip ahead, on the Morata's second goal, that it's like by the time the halftime like rolled around, I was feeling okay. I think I don't know, you were too. It was a strong finish to the first half. And
they were down to the atmosphere.
Yeah. And there was like a little bit of a momentum shift too.
Yeah.
Atletico started giving the ball away. We started to increase the pressure after Cruz's goal. And then just a blow, the goal right after halftime just killed us. And I have to say, like, Alaba yelling at Camavinga in that situation, I think was harsh and maybe a wrong placement of the blame in his head. I'm not saying Camavinga couldn't have sprinted and helped out better, but Alaba just peels off of Morata when he didn't need to, because Rodrygo was there at the near post. So that was another mistake that killed us. And in little moments like that, Ancelotti doesn't have control over. Like, you just need to make better decisions when you're defending.
Substitutions were all over the place too. Don't you feel like? I mean, he had to have in the back of his mind at least the plan or the option of playing with a double pivot. Yet, he took Camavinga out and not Valverde. And 8 minutes later, he deploys that double pivot with Valverde and Tchouaméni, which we discussed. I don't think a double pivot with Valverde and Tchouaméni is as effective or as appealing as a double pivot of Camavinga and Tchouaméni. I think Tchouaméni and Camavinga complement each other way better than Valverde and Tchouaméni, I feel like, especially when you're down 2 goals, right? So I think the substitutions were a bit over the place. We discussed this. I don't know why. Maybe some physical stuff happened to Lucas Vázquez, but Nacho for Lucas Vázquez I don't get either.
I mean,
Goals down.
it's fine, but it also doesn't move the needle. That's the thing.
Not at all.
So
like-
it's just a pair of fresh legs, really, is what it was.
Yeah, and also Mendy with Fran Garcia, 2 goals down again. Mendy was atrocious, I thought. With the at least with the ball, it's true that
I thought he was poor.
Was decent.
I thought he was poor. Like that's the thing. That's another one. Like both those subs. Like so, when you're down 2 goals, the 3 players who came in were Tchouaméni, Mendy, and Nacho
At the same time, yeah.
at the same time. So those are not 3 subs that you would think like, oh
No.
shit, remontada incoming.
The one which moved the needle was Brahim's.
Brahim made a difference.
And he came too late. Well,
think-
maybe not too late. I don't think he would have made a difference with 10 extra minutes. I'm not saying that. Maybe
he may
would
have. He may have.
He may have, but at least I think he was the most positive substitution tonight.
I agree. I think, again, the Mendy and Fran Garcia sub to me was probably just more of a fresh leg more than this moves the needle.
Yeah.
But the problem was, I mean, to be fair to Mendy, this was his first game back. He hasn't played all season. So listen,
That's fair.
And coming into the Metropolitano when you're down and needing to make a difference, that's not an easy place to make your re-debut.
That's fair.
Or return or whatever. So I give at least the benefit of that to Mendy in that situation. Having said that, regardless of that fact or not, he was poor.
Very poor.
It just felt like his touches were clumsy.
Wow.
He got into good positions offensively, but then just made a terrible there was one where he had a diagonal cross and he kind of just it was like not a cross or a shot. He just kicked it.
The whole Metropolitano laughed at him. Yeah.
There was another sequence where you and I were like, what was that? Where he just did not react to a loose ball between him and Griezmann.
Yeah. Very high one.
So there was a couple moments. Anyway, not to pin it on him. This is not Mendy's fault. But and Ancelotti said after the game, like, I'm not going to name anyone particularly. Like it was a collective failure.
Can we name Bellingham though?
Yes.
I think he was like, we discussed this. I think he was like far and above the best player on the field, at least for Madrid. Definitely. Well, Morata scored twice, so we can definitely say that Morata deserves the MVP. But at least for Real Madrid, you said it. I'm just paraphrasing. Like you can definitely feel he's on a different level than the rest of his teammates, and I feel his frustration. I think I haven't taken a look at the replay or anything like that, but I feel like that late tackle could have earned a red card. I'm not sure how dirty, how rough it was. It was just.
Well, I didn't see a replay, and we can't.
Me neither.
We can't really tell from our position.
We can definitely say it was close.
Sure.
So, and that's because he was frustrated. It
felt very much like Sergio Ramos
exactly
in the Clásico.
Yeah, like, the whole Atletico fans were with the Oles and all that, trying to humiliate the players and all that. So I think Bellingham was definitely frustrated.
Here's why I don't blame him for that.
Oh no, I don't.
I know, but I'm just thinking okay, people might say, I don't think anyone's saying this anyway, but people might say he lost his head.
No.
That guy really cared tonight. To have that level of frustration at a loss is ultimately a good sign for me, because he really was annoyed that we didn't win. He really was trying his best, and you could sense his frustration. And when I mentioned that to you, when he's on another level, it was the exact moment I remember where he gets the ball in the box, he's in a tight space, and you're like, what is he supposed to do here? And he just does one shoulder drop left and cuts right to the baseline and gets separation from his man in the box. And this was, in terms of degree of difficulty, games for one individual player, and not to make this too much of an individual segment in a loss, but he's just getting hunted by Atletico with 3-4 players every time he gets the ball. He had a very difficult task tonight. Rodrygo did not contribute much.
Wow, not at all, even, I would say.
I mean, he got into some shooting positions.
One dribble sequence in the first half was decent. Yeah,
that was good. He just ran out of real estate. The one big chance was the one where Joselu kind of he gets the ball in the box and it falls to Rodrygo and the shot gets blocked. I mean, he shot it, got blocked. Whatever.
Fine.
It's not his fault. But Brahim made a better impact, and maybe
he's earning.
And that's the thing. So I don't know. Like I'm hoping Rodrygo will still come good, and this was not an easy game. But regardless, Bellingham, I felt for large stretches in this game was by himself offensively.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
he was.
And just to go back to what you said earlier in the podcast about Modric's role, and this also is connected to Bellingham being alone. I don't think Modric's role was very clear in the sense that he's not doing much defensively in this game. And offensively, he was just kind of roaming without the ball around our box like, as if he's a false nine. And it wasn't like it felt he was a little bit disconnected from the play while not contributing defensively. And I think that was, I mean, in hindsight, shifting to a 4-3-3 from the beginning probably would have made more sense because in the second half, Rodrygo actually had a couple decent sequences from the left wing where he's, cutting in it and just kind of making some plays, linking up with Bellingham, cutting inside. But, you just got it wrong, I think, from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Ancelotti went out of his way just to start Kroos and Modric. I think like he tried to make up the lineup just to fit both of them. I think that's without obviously taking out some of the players like Valverde or Camavinga who kind of had earned their spot, and it would have been like a bigger controversy to leave them on the field. I think he took like the easy route to leave Tchouaméni out, and that's why quick rant here. That's why I actually predicted Tchouaméni to start this game on the bench because I kind of felt what Ancelotti was going to do in this regard.
It's interesting because you got a lot of shit for that. And I was going to give you shit for it, but then the starting lineup was announced, and
I know the way Ancelotti's minds work.
I will say I was surprised. You weren't, but I was. I'm just kind of scrolling over my notes. I don't know if there's a whole lot we didn't touch on.
Not really, I don't think.
But I think we got like at least the general points across. But I will just go over some quickly. In no particular order. I think like Joselu, and I know he in some ways he has, I don't know if I'm verbalizing this properly, so excuse me, but in some ways I think he has earned to be above the criticism. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the reason I say that is because it's, as you and I have said, it's not his fault that Real Madrid are in a position where they need a player like Joselu to step up for us.
And to score 30 goals,
yeah. In games like this, and there were a couple sequences in games past too, not many, but today I noticed it more. Outside the box, he can't do anything. And there was he can't link up with anyone. The moment where he has to be outside the box or the cross is not coming in when he's in the box, there's not a whole lot he can do. There was also a few 50-50 loose balls that he's just a step slow because he's older. He doesn't have that explosive pace to, pounce on a loose ball or get on the end of a through ball. There was one Bellingham pass in transition. Joselu can't catch that ball. Like he can't get to it. He's not fast enough. He's not young enough.
He also made some good plays, though.
Of course he did.
As a target man, releasing the ball, like catching the ball in the air and releasing it to the outlets there. So I refuse to. I know you're not criticizing per se. You're just pointing out some of his weaknesses. But of course, this is the player he is.
It is what it is. No, it is what it is, and that's why I'm just kind of careful to I don't want to, of course, make it sound like I'm singling him out.
I know that.
I'm just pointing out his limitations and also his strengths. His strength is also when he's in the box, he has the gravity of pulling defenders towards him because you can't ignore him. Like he's an aerial threat like no other.
Yeah.
But there were just a few sequences where he can't latch onto a through ball and he can't do anything outside the box either. I thought that there were a couple of cruise sequences in this game defensively that were shocking. That he just
very shocking. Yeah.
But this is the cruise. This is cruise.
The cruise experience. Yeah.
Just that he just doesn't track. And once he realizes like the ball's past him, he just kind of jogs and just hopes that the ball will come to him in transition. And that's why I think Camavinga needed more help. And that's why I think this is the biggest case for Tchouaméni. Of course, Kroos on the ball, no question.
Yeah.
Scored a great goal too. Do we have any other thoughts on Rodrygo? I mean, that's the thing with him. Like his line breaking is amazing. His dribbling is amazing. I'm hoping that if he can just catch one goal, catch some confidence. There was one moment in transition where he does really well to carry the ball. It was an Atletico giveaway in the first half. And then Modric and Bellingham are sprinting into the box to give him some support. And instead of just waiting for them or try to get it to them, he just shoots from an impossible position. He has to make better decisions at the end in those situations.
Yeah, I wouldn't say optimistic. I'm not just very encouraged by what I've seen from Rodrygo so far this season. This was expected to be a breakout season, if you will. The first one where he would actually be a starter, an undisputed starter, even more so after Mbappe didn't sign for the club, obviously. And I've not seen much from him after how many games already? 7? I think he's scored one goal in 7 games.
One goal, and
as an undisputed
before
starter.
this, I didn't check the numbers, but before this game, he had I think almost 30 shots. So I wrote about this a couple of days ago. Between him and Joselu, they've scored 3 goals before this game, 3 goals on 42 shots. So it's just, I mean, not all those shots are clear-cut chances, obviously, but like they're just not, they're not scoring much right now. They're underperforming the XG. Let's hope that gets better.
I'm staying hopeful, but I'm not very encouraged by what I've seen from him so far this season. Definitely.
Yeah. I love him, but this was a really bad Fran Garcia performance.
Yeah.
He was just getting cooked defensively, and also on the ball, he was just getting bullied, out-muscled. Like he was.
Good thing for him, but for Madrid, obviously, is that Mendy wasn't any better anyway. So
yeah,
that definitely speaks volumes about Madrid's
left back situation.
Depth and the whole left back situation. And we were all hopeful that Fran Garcia would solve that. It's still early. He might still contribute and become a high quality player even this season. But right now, troubles is still there, I think. I'm not entirely comfortable with the left back situation still.
No, and it gets compounded when you don't have a left center midfielder who defends. And I mean, we saw I think with like 8 minutes left to go in the first half, Ancelotti says something to Fede runs over and tells Camavinga and Cruz to switch positions. And I mean, I don't know for sure, but my assumption is it's because you needed someone to help cover for Fran Garcia, right?
Yeah.
So again, another case for Tchouaméni, but anything else?
Not for me, I don't think. I think we covered pretty much every angle about this. So
I thought Rudiger was actually fine. I mean,
he doesn't come to mind when speaking about the worst performers.
Sure.
So yeah, that probably means that he was at least decent. Yeah.
Did we miss any of the subs? I think we talked about all 5. I think.
Yeah, we talked
Who
about.
were they? Brahim,
Tchouaméni, Nacho, Mendy.
Was there a 5th? There must have been a 5th one.
Maybe not.
I'm almost positive. Why can't I find?
Maybe not. It's there, man.
Oh, okay, thank you. No, I'm almost positive there was a 5th one, but it's not like there were many. I mean, apart from Ceballos, like who else was there?
No, there was 4.
Yeah, only Joselu for Modric.
Joselu for Modric. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else. I'm just gonna do a quick look at the stats, but this was not a fun one to see.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
We've had some we've had our fair share of sitting through some magical nights. We've had our fair share of painful nights. This job is not that as glamorous as you might think, because you get nights like this all the time. Cruz led us in shots with 4. Rodrygo had 4. He also had 3 key passes. These numbers don't mean much. I thought Fede was actually pretty good. I mean, there were a few moments, like at least I thought he fought well. Yeah,
it's hard to highlight a player other than Bellingham.
Bellingham had 7 dribbles.
Yeah. It's hard to highlight a player other than Bellingham for me. Like the only player I actually give a pass is Bellingham. I can also
Brahim, Kepa.
Yeah, maybe Joselu.
Kepa had a big save in the first half to keep it at 2-0.
Right.
He's been fine for all the things we yelled at, him for. Like, I don't. Just when we signed him, we're upset. Like, what do you want? Like, we just lost Thibaut freaking Courtois for the season. Options are limited. But maybe Courtois makes one miracle save on one of those headers.
Yeah, maybe.
Destroy. I mean, I'm saying the obvious here, but we had momentum in the halftime. That Morata goal just killed us. Like, that was hard to come back from.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, because we had momentum. Like, after the Cruz goal, we were putting them under pressure. They were making mistakes. Atletico, we can, as much as they get in our heads, we also can psychologically, just with one moment, they start getting in their heads too. And I thought we had that a little bit after the Cruz goal, but all goes to waste. And from there point on, I was more worried. I was like, let's just get out of here without any injuries.
Yeah,
because
right.
like there was some bad challenges. Anything else?
No, not for me, man. Just happy to see you after these years.
That's a positive.
And that's the only positive thing. Yeah.
Lucas and I had a tremendous one-on-one basketball game. The results are on social media, much to Lucas's disapproval, but they're there. All right, man. That's it. Just a note for our listeners, we'll be back. I don't think we'll do El Dia Después tomorrow because we're traveling. Maybe
this is El Dia Después anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we're doing a show on Tuesday. We're doing a show. We'll do a live call on. There's a post-game show on Wednesday that's only for patrons and YouTube members. So make sure you sign up for that if you want access to it. We'll be quite active there. Link is in the show notes. Lucas, thanks, man.
Thanks, bro.
Pleasure. All right.
Sir.
Take care, guys. Peace.